Hi guys, welcome back to the Midnight Story. I know it has been a little while. My life has been kind of chaotic recently, but things are starting to settle. So I'm back in the studio, okay? And hopefully we're gonna finish the book tonight, We'll see. But welcome back. Thank you for watching. Thank you to one of my subscribers left a comment requesting a book for me to read. So I will be reading that after I'm finished with this book. And don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all the things, okay? But like that subscriber did, please comment your recommendations. Like, what would you like to hear? I would really appreciate that, so I can give the people what they want. Okay. But lay down. I know it's been a while, but the drill is still the same. Okay. Get comfortable. Relax. And let's get started. Also, not just lay down, because I don't know what you guys are using this video for. It could be background noise while you're doing laundry or something, or on your drive to work, or any of those things, but I digress. Okay. Chapter 69. I don't even remember what happened last. It's irrelevant. Chapter 69. When night comes to Nantucket, it can get much more pitch black than it ever gets in New York City, especially if there's a cloud cover. No moon, no streetlights, no noisy tourists navigating the brick roadways. Jane slept and Michael stared out the window of their room. In the darkness, he could barely see the nearby buildings. How incredible meeting up with Jane again had been, getting to know her as a woman, and then the feelings growing between them. The dinners and talks, the laughter that could be convulsive at times, the nervous, tentative kisses that were almost like teases, then the passionate ones where they joined together, heart and soul. And finally, lovemaking, holding Jane for hours, trying to imagine a future for the two of them that went beyond Nantucket. At about 4 that morning, Michael sat at the edge of the bed, watching Jane sleep again, trying to come up with a plan, anything at all. Something must have told her he was up. "What's the matter, Michael?" she asked, in a soft, sleepy voice. "What's happening? Is something the matter? Are you sick?" "Nothing, Jane. I don't get sick, remember? Go back to sleep. It's 4 o'clock. Come lie down with me. It's 4 o'clock. So Michael lay down with Jane, snuggling with her until she slept again. He watched over her until his eyes stung. He would do anything in his power to save her, even if it meant the unthinkable. Maybe that was it. He had a thought, an idea, a negative one, anyway. He found the logic of it hopeful. He was there to lead Jane out of this world, correct? That was his mission. But what if he wasn't there anymore? Pain stabbed through his heart as he pictured his grim, black and white, Janeless existence. But it would be worth it if she could live. If he wasn't here to help her leave the world, wouldn't she necessarily stay in it, maybe? He didn't know, but at this moment, it was all he had. Still trying to think his idea through, maybe grasping at straws. He began to throw things into his canvas bag, and then he shut the window so Jane wouldn't catch a chill. He stared at her again. Am I doing the right thing? Leaving her now? Will this work? It might. It has to. Jane can't die. He wanted to kiss her goodbye, to hold her one more time, to talk to her, hear her voice, but he didn't dare wake her. How could he leave her again? Maybe because he had no other idea and therefore no choice. I love you, Jane, he whispered. I'll love you forever. Carefully, he closed the door behind him, hurried along the hallway and down the stairs. There was a 5:30 a.m. ferry to Boston. He made a stop at the front desk and spoke to the night clerk. My friend is up in Suite 21. Can someone check on her in the morning? Tell her I had to leave suddenly. A friend is sick. Make sure to tell her it's a friend, a child. Michael walked through dark Nantucket streets, which were completely empty. He felt alone, isolated, and adrift. He was having trouble just catching his breath, which was unusual. His legs felt incredibly heavy. Finally, tears began to roll down his cheeks. Real tears, among his first ever. He pulled his windbreaker tight and waited at the dock. The boat would arrive in about half an hour. There was already a trace of sunlight on the horizon. Could that mean there was hope? There had to be, because Jane couldn't die. It was too heartbreaking even to imagine. Jane can't die now. I have a question because, say he leaves and she just dies anyway. So you're not going to spend those last moments, like you said, holding her and staring at her and kissing her and telling her you love her, because you're going to be sick if you leave and she still dies. Chapter 70. I woke that next morning already smiling, stretching luxuriously, feeling intensely sated in that happy, secure, slightly dragged through a hedge backward kind of way that comes from making lots of love, making actual love as opposed to having sex. I felt wonderful. Sunlight was pouring into the room as if the sun were trying to shine brighter just for us. Turning, I was disappointed not to see Michael right beside me. That stupid little travel clock on the wobbly nightstand said 8:55. No way. Was it that late though? What had Michael and I planned to do this morning anyway? Let's see. We'd talk about going back to an antique store that had some kind of whale tooth carving Michael liked. But first, breakfast at the coffee shop in town that specialized in blueberry pancakes. Although I still wasn't hungry. Maybe because I was shedding some weight and liking the feeling of my body. Or more likely, because I was in love. Well, whatever, we were going to be late, weren't we? Any day we spent together wasn't long enough. We had to seize every minute. Plus, Michael loved to eat, probably because he never put on an ounce. That creep. I was just about to jump out of the bed when I had a flashback to the night before. My mind wandered to a conversation that Michael had wanted to have. Something he needed to tell me. I remember waking up during the night and Michael lying down with me. Where was he? Michael? I called and got no answer. Michael, are you there? Michael? Mikey? Mike? Hey, you. I got out of bed, pushed the hair out of my eyes, and looked around. No Michael. Michael wasn't anywhere. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. I glanced around for a note but saw none. And that too, you couldn't leave her a fucking note or a text, at least explaining why you had to leave so she's not stuck wondering for the rest of her fucking life what happened. Where was I? Dumbstruck, I put my hand to my mouth. He just couldn't have. Somehow I stumbled back to my room where the wrecked bed sheets seemed to mock me. The idea that Michael would literally love me and leave me had never occurred to me. I didn't know whether to feel worried or furious or just painfully, heartbreakingly agonized. "Michael," I whispered in the empty room. "Michael, how could you? Didn't you love me? You were the one person who did." Oh my God, that was it, wasn't it? What he had wanted to tell me, why he hadn't been able to sleep. He'd left me again for another child, right? He was back being somebody else's imaginary friend. I ran around the 2 bedrooms like a crazy person in search of a lost shred of sanity. All of his stuff was gone. His duffel bag, gone. I pulled out bureau drawers, threw open closet doors. Nothing of Michael's was anywhere. No signs that he'd even been here. I looked out the window at a day as bright and pretty as any we'd had so far in Nantucket. A perfect day for bike riding and antique shopping, supper at Ozzie and Ed's, being with someone you loved more than life itself. "Oh, Michael," I said, "how could you leave me all alone?" Again. This time I wouldn't forgive him because I couldn't ever forgive him for breaking my heart twice. Chapter 71. Men suck, even imaginary ones. I arrived in New York that day, and I felt like a stranger in my own home. Everything in every room looked as though it belonged to someone else. Someone who wasn't me. Was this my furniture? Had I selected the paintings on the wall? Who had picked out the drapes? Oh wait, there was a reason it felt like someone else's apartment. Like Vivian's apartment, for example. And who was that in the hallway mirror? It wasn't just the dark smudges under my eyes that threw me. I was so thin. I lugged my valise into the bedroom and sat on the bed. My blurry eyes focused on the nightstand. The gardenias Michael had given me were gone. My housekeeper must have tossed the dead blossoms. Fresh tears welled in my eyes, and I thought I was all cried out. "Not even close, Jane, sweetie." Suddenly, a horrible wave of nausea overwhelmed me. It invaded my stomach and chest. A burning, awful feeling. I barely made it to the bathroom, then knelt at the toilet, throwing up Nantucket's finest shellfish and clutching my stomach. Finally, the waves subsided, and I washed my face in the sink. My hands were still shaking, and I looked pale and faintly green in the mirror. Food poisoning. Just what I needed. When I felt up to it, I checked my messages, hoping against hope that Michael had left some word, some kind of explanation. But first, of course, there was my mother. "Jane, sweetie, I'm worried about you. Seriously worried. Please call your mother." Actually, I suddenly felt as if I did need to call Vivian. Even though she would be apoplectic about my absence. In fact, and I really mean this, I was surprised she hadn't sent out detectives looking for me. I tapped Vivian's number on speed dial. It wasn't answered by either her houseman or her maid, and instead went to her outgoing voicemail message. "You have reached Vivian Margot." As my mother spoke, I rehearsed the message I was going to leave. I heard the beep. And then I completely fell apart, and my rehearsed speech fled. "Mom, it's me. It's Jane. Listen, Michael's left me. Please call me. I love you." I actually needed one of my mother's kisses right now, more than I ever had in my life. I couldn't speak after that, so I hung up the phone and lay face down on my bed. Suddenly I was sobbing again, but also coughing, and my throat hurt. There was no fighting the next bout of nausea. I stumbled into the bathroom and retched horribly. The nausea finally ended, but the coughing wouldn't stop. I tried swallowing hard, but that only made it worse. The nausea swept over me again, scaring me now. It was burning and blistering inside. There was nothing left to throw up, just dry heaves and cold sweats. I collapsed onto the bathroom floor and rested my head on the throw rug. I was burning up and shaking with chills at the same time. I felt like death. The best I could do was to blink my eyes. I could hear the phone ringing in my bedroom, but I didn't think I was strong enough to stand or even crawl to answer it. It had to be Vivian, though, and I wanted to talk to her. Or maybe it was Michael. I pushed myself up off the floor and I started to hobble. It's giving she's not going to make it, and he left her. Oh. Chapter 72. Michael's worry, his anxiety, his guilt, his lack of sleep finally caught up with him on the 5:30 ferry ride from Nantucket to the mainland. His eyes had started to burn again, and his cable knit sweater wasn't much protection against the damp morning chill blowing off the Atlantic. His terrible state of worry and confusion continued on the bus ride to the airport in Boston, and then on the shuttle from Logan to LaGuardia, and the condition had a strange effect on his vision. It was as if everything he saw was drained of color. Most things looked a sickening shade of gray. Those that did have a tinge of color were washed out and weak. Only hours ago, he had been in Nantucket, where he had been incredibly happy with Jane. The happiest he'd ever been in his life. Now everything was changed. He arrived at his apartment building and trudged upstairs. He heard laughter coming from inside Owen's apartment. A woman's voice. Another conquest? My God, was that what Jane would think she had been to him? Would it seem like that to her? Of course it would. He dropped his bag inside his apartment, but he couldn't stay there. Not right now, not in this state. Minutes later, he was walking up Broadway fast, watching gray people, gray cabs, and grayer than gray New York City buildings. He missed Jane with an ache that felt life-threatening. A terrible pain deep in his chest. He wondered what she was doing, if she was okay. Had his plan worked? No. Finally, he couldn't bear it anymore. He called her apartment. After listening to the phone ring several times, he heard Jane's voice. This is Jane. Please leave a message. It's important to me. Thanks. God, he loved her voice. Near Lincoln Center, he barely avoided being hit by a motorcycle that was making a perfectly legal turn. Wake the fuck up, asshole, the driver shouted. Good advice. He would love to wake up out of this horrible nightmare. He walked another block, determined to keep moving, and suddenly it struck him. I'm going somewhere. Headed to a specific place, but where? Northeast, it seemed. At last, he realized that some outside force was making him move, and then he knew. At least he thought he did. Now he was running, his eyes filled with tears, and then the tears wouldn't stop. People were staring, and a few offered their help. Michael kept running. He definitely knew where he was going now. The New York hospital. And he knew what he was going to find there. Oh God, Jane, don't let this be happening. I wish, Michael thought, that I had kissed and hugged Jane more. I wish that I had stayed in Nantucket. I wish. Let this be a lesson. Let this be a lesson. We literally don't know when our time is. So if you feel compelled to say or do something, just do it. Not if it's like putting your life in danger and stuff like that. Obviously, I would never recommend or suggest that, and this is a message for myself too. Anyway, chapter 73. York Avenue and 68th Street. Finally, Michael was almost there. He burst through the front doors of New York Hospital. Ironically, he'd been to this unfortunate place before, when Jane had her tonsil out as a kid. He went right past the front desk, remembering where the elevators were. Down the hallway to the right. He was supposed to go to the 7th floor, room 703. Ahead of him, people streamed into the elevator. 2 nurses with their hands linked, a doctor, some visitors, a little girl who was crying for her grandfather. Why was all this suffering permitted to happen? Suddenly, he was filled with questions. I don't think we can squeeze anyone else in here, a doctor said to him. Sorry, he said, we can squeeze, we can fit, you'd be amazed what we're capable of. We, he thought and said. We. The people in the elevator exchanged glances, the kind of nervous looks that seemed to say, "We've got a crazy on board." The doors finally closed and the car began to move upward. "I shouldn't have left her," Michael muttered to himself. "I should have stayed with Jane no matter what, and now look what's happened." His foolish plan hadn't worked. Who would have thunk? He'd cause her pain for no reason. He'd been so stupid. The elevator finally arrived at the 7th floor. Michael pushed out first, then raced past the nurse's desk. He slowed down as he approached room 703. The door was open a crack. He pushed his sweaty hair back against his head and wiped his face on his sleeve. He needed to look calm and in control, but he wasn't calm. His heart felt as if it might blow apart. He'd never felt tightness in his chest before, and now it was pretty extreme. He finally opened the door, and his eyes took in the room. A nurse sat by the side of the bed, watching a heart monitor. What he saw next took his breath away. His hand went up to his mouth, but a gasp escaped anyway. He wasn't expecting this. Not at all. But it made sense to him. It made sense of everything that had happened. There had been a plan after all. Chapter 74. Somebody else was in the hospital bed. Not Jane. Not what he'd been expecting and dreading. It was Vivian. At first, Michael didn't understand. But then he did, and some of the puzzle pieces seemed to fall into place for him. It was Vivian who was dying. Vivian, who he was supposed to help. She lay there motionless. He'd never seen her like that. Her face was unnaturally pale beneath her tan, and she wore no makeup. Her hair was loose, and her white roots were showing. But in a way, she looked serene and beautiful. She looked a lot like Jane, and his heart went out to her. He wanted to help if he could. He wanted to help them both. "Vivian," he said. Then to the nurse, "I'm family. Can we have a minute?" The nurse smiled at him and stood up. "I'll be right outside. You know she had a stroke." Vivian opened her eyes and looked at him. Then her eyes closed again for a second or two, as if she were trying to figure something out. He spoke gently. "Vivian, I'm here to help you. I'm Michael." Her eyes opened, their deep blue unfaded. "Michael?" she asked in the softest voice he'd ever heard from her. "Jane's Michael?" "Yes, Jane's Michael." He took her hand. "I wish you could see how wonderful you look," he said. "You look the way you always want to look. Beautiful." "There's a mirror in my purse," she said. Michael went and got it and showed Vivian how she looked. He'd never seen her like this, so vulnerable, the child in her allowed to show. "I've been better, and worse, I suppose. Doesn't really matter now, does it?" "Of course it does," said Michael. "Looking well is the best revenge." She smiled then and put a hand on top of his. "Where is my daughter? Is Jane here?" she asked. "I can't go until I see my Jane, sweetie." Chapter 75. What if I hadn't managed to answer the phone finally and heard a sobbing, nearly incoherent Mary Louise tell me to get over to New York Hospital as fast as I could? After I hung up, it was almost as if I were outside my own body. I still felt awful, but I was less nauseated, only a bit shaky and weak. Wait, so is she pregnant? But she wouldn't be losing weight, because she's very sick still. Are they both about to die? Oh my god. Okay. I still felt awful, but I was less nauseated, only a bit shaky and weak. I put on fresh clothes, and then it was as if I were watching someone who looked like me hurry to the lobby of her building and tell Martin, the doorman, to please get me a cab. But it was me who bolted from the cab in front of New York Hospital and who ran to the information desk and was told that Vivian Margot was in room 703. Mary Louise was waiting by the closed door. She kissed my cheek and shook her head back and forth. Carl Friedkin was down the hall. His head was bowed, but I could see that his eyes were full of pain. Carl was with her when it happened, said Mary Louise. The door to my mother's room opened just then, and a woman in a white coat asked me if I was Jane. She introduced herself as my mother's neurologist. Your mother had a stroke, she explained gently. It happened last night at the theater. She's been asking for you. I nodded and tried not to cry, tried to be brave the way Vivian would want me to be. But as I walked into the hospital room, I was suddenly shaking all over. There was my mother, looking very pale and very small, and not anything like herself. And next to her, holding her hand, was Michael. Chapter 76. Michael looked at me and gave the slightest nod and then an understanding half smile. Hi, he whispered. Trade places with me? He stood and I took over the bedside chair beside Vivian. Hi, Mother, it's Jane. I'm here. My mother's head turned and her eyes met mine. She was breathing heavily. I thought she was trying to talk but couldn't, which had never happened to her before. She had no makeup on, no perfect hairstyle. She wore a regular hospital gown, and that was when I knew how bad it was. If she'd been even a fraction of her usual self, she would have fought them over wearing that gown. Also, she seemed glad to see me. I moved closer. What, Mother? What is it? She finally spoke, and her voice was soft and gentle. I was tough on you, Jane, sweetie. I know that, she said. Then my mother started to cry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's okay. It's all okay, I told her. But I did it so you'd be strong. I did it so you wouldn't have to be like me, so cold and hard and conniving. So Vivian, Margot, what a terrible thing that would have been. Please don't talk, just hold my hand, Mom. She smiled. I like it when you call me Mom. She always told me that she hated it. She took my hand and squeezed it. Thank God, Jane, sweetie. You're not the least bit like me. You're just as smart, so you'll be even more successful. But you'll always be kind. You'll be Jane. You'll do things in your own way. And hearing this admission brought me to tears, the ones I had been holding back for years. Am I about to cry? I thought I was such a disappointment because I wasn't like you. Oh, Jane, sweetie. No, never. You want to know something? What? You're the only person I ever loved. The only one. You're the love of my life. The love of her life. My eyes hurt from the tears. My throat and chest ached, but my mother looked the picture of peace. And then I thought, so this is it. After so many years of yelling at stagehands, screaming at secretaries, fighting with investors, after the decades of ordering around maids and chauffeurs and caterers and decorators, after the acres of designer dresses and $1,000 shoes, after all the trips to Paris and London and Bangkok and Cairo, this is how it ends. A frail woman on a hospital bed, my mother and me, together at last. Come closer, Jane, sweetie, she said. I won't bite. Probably not, she added with a weak grin. I moved so close that our faces were almost touching. I have a favor to ask. Of course, Mom. What do you want? For God's sake, make sure they bury me in that new Galliano brocade dress. You can tell I'm broke, honey. I don't know how to pronounce that at all. Nothing black. I look terrible in black. I couldn't help smiling. She was Vivian to the end, so true to herself. The Galliano, I said. Check. And one more thing, Jane. Yes? Don't you wear black to the funeral either. Black makes most people look thinner, but for some reason it makes you look a little top heavy. My smile broadened. Okay, Mom, I'll wear pink. I have just the dress. You're funny, my mother said. You always wear pink at a funeral? Please do. I looked over at Michael. He was smiling now too. My mother closed her eyes and her body shivered. I hated the idea of losing her. My mom. Finally, she was my mom. Michael stood and walked to the other side of the bed. I held one hand, Michael held the other. This was it, wasn't it? It was all happening too fast and so suddenly. I leaned in and kissed Vivian on her soft, smooth cheek. She smiled and opened her eyes again. A slight nod of her head told me she wanted me closer again. Jane, the only thing I hate about dying is saying goodbye to you. I love you so much. Goodbye, Jane, sweetie. Goodbye, Mom. I love you so much too. And then my mother gave me one last kiss to remember her by, always. Ooh, I'm about to cry. Chapter 77. As she wished, Vivian was buried in the Galliano dress. Galliano? She looked beautiful. In fact, the entire funeral was stunning and also touching. Why not? Vivian had planned it down to the tiniest detail. I wore pink, an Yves Saint Laurent pink. The service was held on Park Avenue at St. Bart's, of course. 2 pianists played Brahms flawlessly, as if Vivian was standing over them. Then a soloist performed show tunes from several of the musicals my mother had produced. A couple of times the audience burst into song. Finally, as the service ended, on a very warm spring day, we all stood and sang my mother's favorite song, Jingle Bells, which was so incredibly not Vivian that it was perfect too, just as she knew it would be, and I was happy for her. My mother had produced one last hit. As we walked out of St. Bart's to the waiting limos, Michael said to me, if they had served cocktails, this could have been a Vivian Margot reunion party, as it should be. I loved it, I said, and hugged him, because she would have. Everyone who was anybody, or pretended to be, was there. Not just Elsie and Mary Louise and the people from the office, but very famous actors, directors, stagehands, and choreographers. Prop men and makeup artists, all there to honor my mother and her accomplishments, which were many, including raising me to be me. My father was there with his wife, Ellie, and at age 48, Ellie was finally beginning to look older than 30. Or maybe she just dressed down in honor of Vivian. Howard, my stepfather, was there, sober too. He told me that he'd never stopped loving Vivian. Me too, Howard, me too, I said and gave him a hug. My mother's old hairdresser, one named Jason, was on hand. Like Vivian, Jason was a testimony to perfect plastic surgery, and he had done my mother one final favor. He'd flown to New York from Palm Springs just to do her hair. Even Hugh McGrath showed up. He shook my hand, hugged me as if I were an ex-wife, told me he was sorry for everything. I almost believed him until I remembered Hugh is an actor, and Hugh is a son of a bitch. The graveside service at a cemetery in Westchester County was touching and brief, also according to Vivian's explicit direction. The minister reminded us that life was much too short, that we were destined for another world beyond this one, and that no doubt Vivian would be producing shows in heaven. Well said, but enough said. I placed a single rose on my mother's coffin, my style. I prayed that my mom was at peace, and if she were looking down now, that everything had gone as she wanted. I wore pink, Mom. Then Michael took my hand and we began to walk. We have to talk, he said, and a chill went through me. This is not the time. Can she get in the ground? Jesus. Okay, chapter 78. I think this is still recording. The sun was warm and bright, and it lit the cemetery as though it were a stage set. The greens of the trees, the vibrant colors of the flowers, everything seemed so crisp and light and right. So why was I shivering? Gorgeous day, I said. Even God wouldn't mess with Vivian, Michael smiled. He had loosened his tie and removed his jacket. The jacket was hooked on his index finger and slung it over his shoulder. And very Michael, who was always true to himself. So we know why I was sent back to New York, he said, and why I had those feelings about New York Hospital and all the rest of it. I nodded but didn't say anything. I was here to help your mother. I'm almost sure of it, Jane. Oh, like why he was back in New York, period. I stopped walking and looked at him. But you're still here, he smiled. Yes, I seem to be, unless I really am your imaginary friend. It's possible. I poked him in the stomach. Did you feel that? Oof, yes, I did. And I cut myself shaving quite regularly now. There was a pause. Michael's green eyes squinted against the bright sun. I think I'm here because I want to be. And I'm here because you're the only person I've ever loved, too. I'm here because I couldn't stand to leave you, Jane. I turned to him again, my heart full, and we came together and kissed gently. It was perfect. I have questions, I said, when we separated, that must be answered. I don't know if I have answers, but I'll try, Jane. Alrighty then, let me begin with a toughie. Have you ever talked to, God? Michael nodded. Yes, of course I have. Many, many times. Unfortunately, he's never talked back. He, she, whatever. Next question. So you believe in? Michael looked around. Well, how else to explain all of this? Or me, of course. Or us. Snow cones, Pokemon, The Simpsons, the justice system in America, iPods. I get it. So are you an angel? Sometimes. But occasionally I'm kind of devil may care, he grinned. And his eyes twinkled at me. I'm just trying to be honest. I stomped my foot. I needed to know about this. Are you an angel, Michael? He looked deeply into my eyes. I honestly don't know, Jane. Guess I'm like everybody else. I don't have a clue. He took me in his arms again. See me, feel me, he whispered. We've made it this far. We continued to walk. Michael, I have to ask you something else. This has been really bothering me. Are you always going to look the way you look right now? Exceptionally handsome, wildly debonair, unkempt? Pretty much, yeah. You mean, am I ever going to grow old, Jane? Yes. I honestly don't know. Well, you have to promise me that we're not just going to grow old together. I want us to actually look like we're growing old together. That would mean a lot to me. Excuse me. I'll do my best to get wrinkled and stooped, and I'll drive a big black Buick. Thanks, I said. I'll do the same. And how about money, I asked. How do you get money? That's an easy one. Michael snapped his fingers. Nothing happened. He snapped again, frowning. That's weird, he muttered. He snapped again, and nothing happened. That's scary, actually. That's usually how I get spending cash in cabs when it's raining. He tried one more time. Nothing, he said. Cutting myself shaving is one thing. Oh well, I have to find work. Maybe I could be a boxer. I poked his stomach again. Maybe not. Finally, I asked the toughest question and the one that scared me the most. Are you going to stay with me, Michael, or will you leave me again? Just tell me. Let me know once and for all. Is that what's going to happen? How the hell would he know? Chapter 79. Michael rolled his eyes, which made me feel slightly, only slightly better. Then a grimace crossed his face and he put his hand to his chest. Jane, he said, sounding confused. Jane? And then he crumpled onto the stone pathway where he had been walking. Michael, I dropped to my knees beside him. Michael, what's happening? What is it, Michael? Pain, my chest, he managed. I began to yell for help. And fortunately, a few people from my mother's funeral were still there. They came running. Call 911, I shouted, unable to believe this was happening. I think he's had a heart attack. Please, call 911. I looked back at Michael and saw that he had lost color and was perspiring heavily. I loosened his tie and opened his shirt's top button, which popped off and fell into the path. How could this be happening? How could it happen now? I thought I was going to lose it, get hysterical, and be completely useless. I wouldn't let that happen. Michael, help is coming. An ambulance. Hang on, okay? Jane, he repeated in a whisper, please don't talk. Michael looked so pale, so incredibly sick all of a sudden. Out of nowhere, we got 911, said a man in a black suit, who I recognized as someone from the funeral parlor. They're on their way. Try to relax, sir. It's better not to talk. Jane, Michael said again, sounding kind of dreamy. You have kind eyes. I leaned in close to him. Please, Michael. Shh. Michael shook his head, and I thought he was going to try to push himself up, but he didn't. Don't tell me that. I have to talk now. There are things you need to know. I took Michael's hand and leaned in even closer. There was a crowd around us now, but it was just the two of us down there, just us, just like always. Michael said in a raspy whisper, for years I prayed that I would see you again as a grown-up. I prayed for this to happen, Jane. Does he mean he prayed for them to be together as adults when she was a child? See, this is what I mean. This is what I mean about this book. I thought about it a lot. I wished it would happen, and then it did. Somebody was listening. That's amazing, isn't it? Shh, I whispered, feeling hot tears start in my eyes, but Michael wouldn't hush. You are so special, Jane. Do you understand that? Do you? I have to know you do. Yes, I nodded and said what he wanted to hear. I hear you. I'm special. Michael smiled then, and for a second he looked like himself again. He had the most incredible smile, warm and gentle and loving. It was a smile that touched my heart and had touched it when I was a child. I had no idea how much I was going to love you and how good it would be, he said. He squeezed my hand tightly. I love you, Jane. I love you. I know I said that, but I wanted to say it again. I love you. Then tears came into his eyes. This isn't so bad, he said with an odd little smile. Then Michael's eyes closed. Chapter 80. Now I have to tell you that what happened next couldn't have happened, which I know must seem crazy given what has happened already, but here goes. An ambulance brought Michael to Northern Westchester Hospital. I followed close behind in a police car. A very kind doctor named John Rodman told me that Michael had blockage in all 4 arteries to his heart, and that he would be going in for an immediate angioplasty. Heart surgery was also a possibility. The doctor wanted to know things about Michael that I simply didn't know, like how old he was and whether he had trouble with his heart before. Then the doctor was gone, and I was alone in the waiting room. Soon, other people started to drift in, looking as nervous and uncomfortable as I was sure I did. Now here's where it gets really strange. One of the other women in the room, sandy blonde hair, mid-30s, very likable, even at a glance, got up for a drink of water from the fountain and then came over to me. Okay, wait. Is it because his magic is gone and everything he's been doing all these years is just catching up to his body? May I sit? She asked. I nodded numbly, and she took the chair next to me. I'm a friend of Michael, she said, which made my head jerk up. I looked into her kind, open face. We all are. She gestured to the other people in the waiting room, who looked over at me and nodded warmly. We're that kind of friend. Imaginary. Oh, I was speechless for a moment, looking around at all of them and then back at the woman. I'm Jane. Yes, I know. Well, Jane, we all love Michael. How is he? Do you know what's going on? There's blockage to his heart, I said. 4 arteries. The woman shook her head. That's too strange. I'm Blythe, by the way. It's not strange considering what he eats, I said wryly. She gave a little smile. But Jane, we don't get sick. None of us. Ever. So yes, it is strange. Something totally unexpected, totally bizarre is happening here. I thought about our doomed love affair and shook my head. You have no idea. Blythe took my hand in hers. She was so sweet, a perfect friend already. Actually, I do. Michael has been talking about you. He never shuts up about you. We all approve, not that you need our approval, but we do. We've never seen Michael so happy. We like you, Jane. So we sat together, Blythe and I, my new imaginary friend, and we waited. Fretted and were scared. Finally, Dr. Rodman appeared and headed my way. There was no way to read his face, but he definitely wasn't smiling. I felt my own heart contract painfully and my throat went dry. Desperate, I turned to Blythe and she shook her head. The doctor can't see us. Oh, okay, of course not. I'm the only crazy person here with imaginary friends at 32 years old. Jane, said Dr. Rodman, can you come with me? This is a little strange. Please come. Chapter 81. Michael watched Jane as she walked into the recovery room with his doctor. Now this was another new one. His doctor. Michael had never been sick a day in his life, had never been examined by a physician, certainly had never had a heart procedure. And oh, one more thing. He'd never been frightened out of his mind like this before. Not about dying. He was all right with that, more or less. Cautiously optimistic anyway. But he had just found Jane again, and he didn't want to lose her for any reason. He couldn't lose Jane. Hi, she said, and he smiled weakly. He adored the sound of her voice. Hi, I must look like I was hit by a speeding truck. I feel like it. You look terrific for somebody who was hit by a truck. The doctor gave Jane a pat on the shoulder and left. Jane came over to Michael's bed and leaned in and kissed his forehead. And suddenly he remembered doing the exact same thing to her when she was 8. He reminded her. We are on the same wavelength, Michael. Of course I remember, Jane said and smiled. I told you that I would never forget you. Then they held hands, all 4 of their hands intertwined together. Your doctor is in mild shock because you came out of the anesthesia so fast, like too fast. Michael shrugged. Don't know why, but what happened to me? Jane smiled again, and Michael felt better. What happened to you is too much rich food, too much junk food, for God only knows how long, and I mean that quite literally. But here's the good news. I'm listening. You have a heart, Michael. You could have died. You're human, Michael. You are human. Her face was lit with an inner joy. So let me see if I have this right, said Michael. The big whoop about being human is that you get to die. Live and die, Jane said. But yeah, that's pretty much it, the big whoop. And then Michael and Jane were both crying and hanging on to each other fiercely. This, he finally managed to say, what happened today is a miracle. Oh, okay. Chapter 82. While we're on the subject of miracles, consider this one. Just because life is hard and always ends in a bad way, doesn't mean that all stories have to, even if that's what they tell us in school and in the New York Times book review. In fact, it's a good thing that stories are as different as we are, one from another. So here's how this one ends, happily, I should warn you. Huge spotlights rake the night sky of Manhattan, signaling that this is a really big deal. People are waving pens and pieces of paper, screaming for autographs from the actors. Police hold back the crowd at 6th Avenue and 54th Street. It's pretty cool. It's a genuine rush. My stomach is all in knots and I smile as if it isn't and walk past the paparazzi into the theater. I'm wearing a red satin dress. It's a little snug at my hips and flares at the bottom, but I look good and I know it. Sort of in my own way of knowing these things and feeling good about myself, which I'm slowly getting better at. As I walk down the aisle to my seat, I can almost hear my mother saying, "Oh, Jane, sweetie, a fancy dress like that deserves better jewelry. Why didn't you go to my vault and pick out something nice? You look so incomplete. I almost say out loud, Mother, please, not tonight. I slide into the third row, all by my lonesome. That's all right, though. I can handle it. I'm a grown-up. Then I see Michael. He looks dashing. As he dashes down the aisle and sits in the empty seat next to mine, made it, he says. I'm a nervous wreck, I tell him, as if he didn't know. He gives me a hug and my nerves instantly calm. Slightly. He's comforting, sexy, sweet, all in one. Okay, and now I'm a nervous wreck who's wildly in love with a man who may or may not be real. Michael pokes me lightly in the side. The poke is our thing these days, okay? You're real, I say. The house lights finally dim and the movie begins. People in the audience cheer immediately, but I know they're all with the studio and PR agency, so it doesn't count. They love it, Michael says. It hasn't started. A title card fills the screen. Jane Margot, in association with VMAR Productions, presents Thank Heaven. More cheering, much appreciated. I lean toward Michael and say, the music sounds fabulous anyway. Violins and a little soft brass. Just right to introduce the first scene of this nice light comedy. A camera moves through a crowd, then in tight on a table at the Astor Court of the St. Regis Hotel. The scene was really shot at the St. Regis. An adorable little girl sits at the table. The camera lingers on her for a moment. Let us get to know her. Apple red cheeks, an irresistible smile. Then the camera continues across and catches her companion. A handsome man, maybe 30 years old. Hard to tell for sure, but he's definitely a star. So what'll it be, he asks. You know, the girl says. I know. Coffee, ice cream with hot fudge sauce. The actor playing the part is perfect for the role. He's an unknown whom I just happened to discover, plus he needed the work. It's Michael, playing Michael. Who else could it possibly be? I watch him up on the screen as I hold his hand in the audience, and I think that everything in this life is kind of unreal, isn't it? And then I'm thinking, is it so impossible to imagine or believe that a man and a woman can find happiness together for a little while, which, after all, is all that we have, all anyone has. I think it can happen. It happened to me, to Jane, sweetie, so it can probably happen to anybody. By the way, the movie audience loved Thank Heaven. Chapter 83. Michael was seated at a table in the Astor Court at the St. Regis with an absolutely adorable 4-year-old girl named Agatha, who preferred to be called Aggie. Aggie was Michael's latest mission, and although he always tried to do something fresh and new with every one of his kids, he couldn't resist the St. Regis on a Sunday afternoon. This place was all about good memories, right? The waiter placed a bowl of melon balls and lemon sherbet in front of him. Thanks so much, said Michael, as if the waiter had done him a great favor, which Michael believed he had, since he did his job so well. The waiter had already given Aggie her sundae, strawberries with whipped cream over strawberry ice cream with a dab of strawberry jam. You're such a girl, Michael kidded her. I am a girl, silly, said Aggie, who had the most amazing smile to go with her beautiful green eyes. Michael was tempted to teach her something that he would call the Aggie and Michael game, but he resisted this urge. He needed something even better for Aggie. And here it came now. Aggie, look. Jane had taken their 1-year-old son, Jack, to the restroom, and the two of them had just re-entered the Astor Court and were now hurrying across the restaurant. Jack was pointing at the ceiling and exclaiming, Yite, yite, which was his word for light or anything else that he liked a lot. Here come Mommy and Jack, Michael exclaimed, and he felt his heart spike with excitement as it always did. He felt so lucky, so fortunate, so blessed to have Jane and to have this family. Now we can play monkey in the middle, said Aggie, laughing. And you're the monkey, Daddy, okay? Okay, said Michael, except that we need a ball for that game. But of course, I'm the monkey. I'm the hairy, homely one, aren't I? Then he turned to Jane, smiled, and whispered just for her, "I missed you. I always miss you." "I missed you too, but now I'm here," said Jane. "We're all here, the four of us, and there's nothing in the world that's better than that, nothing I could imagine in my wildest dreams." Jane sat down at her place and dipped a spoon into her sundae. Hot fudge over coffee ice cream, and gave Jack the first taste of this delicious confection. "Yikes," the little boy exclaimed with affection. I know I said I read this before, but I didn't remember it. So I'm very pleasantly surprised at the ending. And I like what they said there, that like life is rough and hard for everyone for various reasons. And it's like, just give us a happy ending. Like, everything doesn't have to be ending in tragedy. God. So I really love that. So that was James Patterson, Sundays at Tiffany's. We are finished with this book. I'm going to find the comment that was left about the next book I'm going to read and get that ordered. And then you guys will see me possibly sometime next week. Thank you for watching. And again, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment your suggestions. And yeah, I will see you guys soon.